Hey everyone, welcome to All Techies. I'm Pankaj Rai, and in this video I'm going to talk about the StateFlow and SharedFlow. Well, they both are part of Flow, but they are quite different from Flow because Flow is cold stream, which means that it emits value only if there are any subscriber which is collecting the value. And these two, SharedFlow and StateFlow, they are hot stream, which means that irrespective of subscriber, they emit the value so that as soon as a new subscriber attached into it, they just get the updated value. Okay, so let's see how can we get started with it. So first switch to Google and add the dependency of coroutine because they are the part of coroutines. And under the hood, it actually creates coroutine. So now let's get started with StateFlow. But before I talk much about the StateFlow, the first thing is because they are the part of Flow. So what is Flow itself? So flow is nothing but a synchronous flow of data. Say if you want to have a sequential flow of data, then you could use flow. This you can think as if the alternative of RxJava also, because there you can have a stream of data which you can pass it reactively, and here you can do the exact same thing. It also gives you an ability to have it either in the same coroutine or in different coroutines, which means that you can have both the emitters and collector either in the same thread or in different thread, so that all your heavy lifting could be done in one thread and reading the value and updating the value can be done on another thread. Okay, so that was about flow. Now let's talk about the state flow and shared flow. So let me start with the state flow first. So state flow is nothing but the state data holder, which means that it knows about the state and can store the state. The state, do not get confused with the lifecycle states. It is any value which you can set to the state flow is called as the state. So let me show this. I have view model, and inside this view model I have mutable state flow and the state flow. So if you remember about the live data, then live data is something where you cannot set the value. You can only read the value from it by setting the observers. Same concept applies here also. On the state flow, you cannot set the value. So we have mutable state flow. On this object, you just set the value, and then through the state flow, you observe the value by using the collect or for each method. They are also called as the terminal operator. So one thing is that whenever you create the object of mutable state flow, you have to provide the default value. This could either be your long, boolean, string, any sort of value you can specify here. Even the objects are okay here. So why do they are called as state? Because if you could see, then I'm just giving a value. It's a normal value. It's just a long value with a value of 0. So the main reason here is that if you try to set the same value over and over, for example, at this place. So here I'm setting the value 10. Now, if I call this even 10 times, it's just going to give me the value only one time. That's because if value is not changing, it just doesn't emit the value. And that's something which is quite sensible because it is for the state flow. And until unless the state changes, it really doesn't make any sense to emit the result back to the collector. So that's why this is nothing but the state flow, where once the value changes, it just emit the value to the subscribers. Also, because it's part of flow, so you can do one thing, that if you are using flow and you want to convert this to state flow, then you can directly call state in, where you have to specify the scope, then sharing started, and another one is the default value. Well, coroutine scope is mandatory here. So if you are trying to do in this fashion, then do not forget to have the coroutine scope as a parameter for this. Or if you have direct access to it, then you can specify it here. But however, as I do not have it and I do not want to pass it as a parameter, so what I'm doing is that here I'm just emitting the value after every 1 second using the traditional flow, then collecting those values inside this network view model. After collecting this value, I'm just setting the value to the mutable state flow. So every time as I'm going to get the new value, so as the value changes here, it's going to emit the value in my main activity, because from main activity I'm reading this value. So this was all about setting the value. Now how can we read the value? So let's see that. Now in the main activity, here I have a coroutine builder launch when started. So we have other variants of this also. We have launch when started, we have launch when created, and launch when resumed. What it means is that as soon as the activity state goes into on started state, then it can start its execution. And once the state goes to on stop, then suspend this coroutine. This is something which is really important for us because we do not want to update our UI when activity or the fragment itself is not visible to the user. So if you are having this inside launch when started or created or on resumed, then you need not have to bother much about it. You just read the value, set the value, and because it's going to suspend itself in on stop, then you need not worry about the crash as view is no longer visible on the screen. So here inside this coroutine builder, I'm calling .collect method. That's nothing but the terminal operator. I'm calling this on the state flow. So you can convert any mutable state flow to state flow by calling this method as state flow. So on that, just call this terminal operator collect, and this is going to give you the value whatever you are setting it. So one thing here is that this is going to give you the live updated value, which means that as soon as the value of this underscore timer state value changes, you'll get that value right at this place dynamically. How about those places where you do not want this kind of concept of getting the value as soon as they changes? You just want to fetch the value as and when required. Say for example on a button click. Then what you could do is like you can call dot value directly. And this is going to give you the conflated, that means the last updated value whatever this state flow was having. So one thing is that this is for the live sync and this is for the one-time sync as and when required. So that was about the state flow. Now let's talk about shared flow. So state flow, as I said, this is good for observing the state. The state is nothing but whatever value which you are setting to it. The term state come into action as if you are not changing the value, that means it's in the same state. As it is in the same state, it really doesn't make any sense to update the value, and that's what it does in reality. But how about those scenario where it really doesn't matter whether you're setting the same value or different values, or like you're having events and you want to observe multiple set of events? Then StateFlow is not a good candidate for that. For that we need something different, and that is shared flow. So shared flow have a concept where you can have series of events and you can observe all of them. Not just that, when a new subscriber try to get the value from the shared flow, they can also get the old events. So every shared flow have a concept of caching, and it's purely up to you. If you want to use it, you can set the value there, or if you do not want to have anything, you can just specify 0. Specify 0 means you want a conflicted result, which means that only the updated result for all the subscribers. For example, let's see this one. So just like StateFlow, here we have mutable shared flow, because on shared flow you cannot set the value. And again, to observe this, we have a method as shared flow. One more difference between this state and shared flow is that in StateFlow you have to give the default value. For example, here it is. So 0L is the default value for this. When it comes for mutable shared flow, you do not need to give any default value. The number 10 which you are seeing here, that is for the replay cache. I have this shared timer, I'm having the suspended method, and to this shared flow I'm emitting the result. One thing is that if you are trying to emit the value from a non-suspending function, for example, say if this is not a suspending function, then what you could do is that you can specify try emit. So this is also okay. This is a variant which is for non-suspending function, and emit is the variant for the suspending function. So this was about setting the value to the shared flow. Now how to read it? Let's see, in the main activity I have this method where I'm reading the value. So again I have lifecycle scope and launch when started, the coroutine builder, and inside this the timer is the shared flow. On that shared flow I'm calling collect. So on every 1 second delay, just set the content on the screen. Now how it is different from StateFlow? So here, for example, say if I have one more subscriber. The subscriber, what I'm saying is about this collect method. These are the terminal operator, and based on that you subscribe to get the values. So say for example you have this where the current value is say 10, and after certain delay of say 1 minute you are running this piece of code, then it's an obvious case that this will not be the latest value at that time. So what this is going to give you, is it going to give you the old result or it's going to give you the new one? Well, it depends on the replay cache. For example, say that after 1 minute the current value is like 100, this 101 and 102, and you have specified that replay cache as 50. Then as soon as you set this new subscriber, it's not going to give you 103. So 102 was the last value, the new one is 103, but it's not going to give you 103 because the replay cache which you have specified is 50, which means that from the current it can go back till the 50th value. So here it's going to give you the last 50th value, and from there onward it will start emitting the result. So by this way you will not lose the old values, which might be helpful for you in certain ways. For example, you don't want to lose what sort of events that got triggered. So that was a short introduction about the StateFlow and SharedFlow. In the upcoming videos we'll also see how effectively we can use it while making Android apps. So that's it for this video. If you have liked this video, then do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe this channel to get the videos on the latest topics of Android, Kotlin and Firebase. Thank you and stay tuned.